On Earth, two powerful warriors clash. Broly, the exiled Saiyan, clashes with Gogeta, a fusion of Goku and Vegeta. The two are currently involved in a massive battle. But what if something about this battle changed part of the story? Today's video is kind of an odd topic. You may be looking at the title thinking, what the hell are you thinking, Salad? And yeah, this What If mini is a bit more on the fanfiction-y side. However, that doesn't mean I'm not going to go in without an explanation, however flimsy it may be. Today's video will be covering an odd scenario involving two very popular characters. Those two characters being Broly and, Broly. Specifically both incarnations of Broly. That's right, today we'll be covering What If Broly Met Broly, Super Broly meeting Z Broly. For this video, let's hit a like goal of 2,500 likes, and with that out of the way, let's begin this scenario. The fusion and the Berserk Saiyan clash. Two of their attacks collide, and it's almost as if reality breaks around them, literally shattering. The two continue to power up and fight, breaking through more and more dimensions. And as they do, a sort of rift is created. Eventually they return to their own dimension, seemingly with everything restored, but a rift was created during that clash. In a parallel world, one that doesn't follow this canon, it seems something was brought over that shouldn't have been brought over. Of course, the two don't know about it now, and don't even focus on that. Their fight goes normally as the two realities merge into one. And of course, the battle ends with Broly being sent back home. Following this massive battle, some time passes. Goku has already visited and given them some supplies, and it's a huge help considering Vampa didn't really have too much to work with. Not to mention, they have an actual house now. Life on Vampa seemed terrible before, but is shaping up to be somewhat okay. Not ideal, but okay. Chilai and Lemo go about their day. As Broly starts to train, he's begun doing this more after his fight, not only because he's realized his latent potential, but because he wants to gain control of his power. If he ever has an outburst like that again, it will be disastrous. Especially since Chilai and Lemo can't do anything about it. In that situation, the only person that could stop him is himself. Out in space, Chilai and Lemo see some explosions. Huh, that's weird. That isn't Broly, it seems. He's right there beside them and he's not using ki attacks. But their stomachs drop. Oh no, it must be Frieza. He must have realized they went back to where they found Broly and pursued going to Vampa. They call for Broly, telling him to be on guard. And actually, that is the case. Frieza's forces are in space, flying relatively close to the planet. These ships were sent by Frieza, hoping that they can go and kill Broly. Obviously their forces aren't strong enough, but they could just blow up the planet and kill him that way. But as their ships approach, they suddenly see a glowing green ball in space. That ball gets closer and grows larger. One of the ships tries to fly away, but is blown up in the blast. The other ship desperately tries to escape, but the same thing happens. Another small ship then approaches, following closely behind the glowing green light. In this ship is a mustached Saiyan, trying to stop whatever this power is. This, of course, is Paragus. He and his son grew up on new planet Vegeta, and for years they remained there. They wanted to find Vegeta and get their revenge, but they were never able to find his planet. So, creating a new life for themselves, they remained on new planet Vegeta, surviving somewhat in peace. But they felt something odd recently, as they were unknowingly transported somewhere else by a rift in time and space. And as this rift occurred, they sensed some odd energy, specifically the son of Paragus, Broly. An image popped into his head, one that he forgot about long ago, Kakarot. As Gogeta and the canon Broly continued to clash, this other Broly picked up on it when he was transported here, thus causing Broly to go berserk. Awesome, the flimsy explanation is done now. Its purpose was to set up the story that follows, the real meat of this scenario. Revealed in front of Paragus' ship is none other than Broly, his extremely powerful and berserk son. Although these two are from a different dimension, in terms of time, many years have passed, meaning they're almost the same age as Paragus and Broly from this dimension, with Broly of course being as old as Goku. Hence, this Broly isn't really as powerful as the one from the Z movies. No, much more than that. And as he's berserk, his power continues growing. It is maximum after all. The explosion of the Frieza Force's ships knocks Paragus' ship away, crashing into Vampa. Of course, Broly, Chilai, and Lemo pick up on this, and immediately Broly grabs them and rushes over. Broly is on guard, and out of it steps a very familiar looking man, but with different clothes and somewhat less gray hair. This man recoils in fear. Broly? He already got on this planet? It seems like he's not berserk though. What happened? Chilai and Lemo obviously aren't happy, recognizing this is Paragus, and they're kinda confused as to how he survived. But sensing his energy, Broly then tells them, this man looks like Paragus, but he definitely isn't his Paragus. Paragus is confused, and so is Broly, but they look up once again as Broly senses something out in space. That green glow is getting closer, as Paragus then realizes, this isn't his Broly. But how? It must have been that odd warping that they felt before. Some really odd energy wave. Did it duplicate Broly or something? The glowing green light gets closer, as Z Broly descends from space, in his restricted Super Saiyan form. He sees the other Broly, confused as well, but Super Broly is on guard. If you couldn't tell by now, to distinguish them, I'll be using Z Broly and Super Broly as their names. Super Broly is on guard, as Z Broly then looks down and sees that they're protecting Paragus. Are they colluding against him or something? Did Paragus finally turn on him and decide to kill him? No longer restricted, Z Broly then transforms, going into Super Saiyan. As he attacks, Super Broly jumps in. He tells Chilai, Lemmo, and Paragus to get somewhere safe. I guess they'll have to find out what happened later on. Super Broly struggles to defend, getting angrier and angrier. This guy, this lookalike, he's definitely not in the right state of mind, and he's putting Chilai and Lemmo in danger. And Broly of course recognizes that gold hair form that he has. It's the same one that he accessed on Earth. No wonder this guy is so strong. In base, Super Broly continues fighting, but remember, this Z Broly isn't the same strength as the Z Broly we know. He's had many more years of growth, and the more he fights, the stronger he grows. Super Broly eventually goes into his wrathful state, trying to gain more control and get the upper hand. But he struggles to control himself as well. Z Broly of course is shocked, but he continues to fight, also getting angrier. He won't let Paragus or these guys kill him. And this other guy, this lookalike of his, it only serves to anger him more and more as the fight goes on. With Z Broly already at his max power, and powering up as the fight continues, he's prepared to kill Super Broly. Nothing will stand in his way. This weak excuse for an imposter will die. He throws a punch, but it's caught by Super Broly. Trying his best to control his anger, he has no choice but to unleash more of it and more of his power, even if it means he would go berserk. So, once more, he's forced into Super Saiyan. This time, he's not completely berserk like he was on Earth against Gogeta, but it's not like he has full control either, both over his anger and his power. Of course, this fight isn't going to go unnoticed. There's a lot of energy being displayed here, and naturally, someone would be able to sense it. Far away, we arrive back on Earth, where Goku and Vegeta are continuing their training. With such a huge spike in power, especially one from where Broly is, the two not only notice it, but they're concerned about it. Specifically Goku. What's going on? They decide they want to check it out and see what's happening, but first, they need to make a visit to someone. And this time they'll bring along a few Senzu beans. They won't make the same mistake twice. Goku and Vegeta teleport away, and now we can shift the focus back to Vampa. Z Broly is progressively growing in power. That's just how Z Broly works, for some good reason or another I'm assuming. More so as a plot convenience in his trilogy, but anyways, now that Super Broly is in Super Saiyan, it does cause some issues. The two actually clash somewhat evenly. Z Broly then powers up into his legendary Super Saiyan form. Using that odd barrier technique he has, he can survive in space regardless, so the best option now is to just blow up the planet. This lookalike is kind of a pest, and it seems like he won't be defeated so easily. Maybe this will do the job. He jumps up in the air, charging a massive green blast. Super Broly looks up, knowing what awaits him if this blast hits. He powers up as he begins shouting, launching a beam from his mouth to counter Z Broly's blast. The massive green ball of energy gets closer and closer to the planet's surface. Z Broly adds a bit more firepower and it keeps going. But suddenly he starts to feel some resistance, and he senses a massive spike in ki. The blast is then launched away, careening off into space and exploding, illuminating the planet in a brilliant neon green light. And in the wake of this explosion, Z Broly sees the imposter looking similar to him. Super Broly is now in his full power Super Saiyan form, donning the same green hair that Z Broly has now in his legendary Super Saiyan form. Now, the two are at their maximum power. This duel, it seems almost never ending. But now with the two going all out, it's not only Vampa that's at stake. We saw what Gogeta versus Broly was doing. The two were quite literally breaking through dimensions. Thankfully, Gogeta was able to keep himself under control and keep Broly under control as well, but in this case, that's not going to happen here. It's two incredibly powerful warriors both berserk. The threat expands past Vampa. A massive clash between the two could be catastrophic. Solar systems, galaxies, and possibly the entire universe is at risk from this. As the two continue clashing, it creates shockwaves that are sent throughout space, almost to the point where it breaks Vampa at the seams. This clash goes on, but suddenly, Z Broly receives a kick to the back of the head. Super Broly's confused, that wasn't him. But the two then hear a voice that shouts. The voice says although this man looks like Broly, they know he's not Broly. The disembodied voice retorts, he hopes this isn't another Zamasu situation. That was already annoying enough to deal with in one timeline. Z Broly's confused, he doesn't recognize this man. But Super Broly can, his appearance is very familiar. And as for his voice, it clicks with him. It's the guy he just fought on Earth not too long ago. The fusion of those other two Saiyans, Vegeta and the one that called himself Kakarot. From the sky, a fusion descends. It's Vegito. He didn't want to mess with the fusion dance this time, So, before going to Vampa, they stop by Shin. It would be much easier to use Potara once again, and now they know not to use too much power or else they'll defuse. In a brief moment of lucidity, Super Broly actually somewhat gains control over himself. Grunting and asking if this is the same person he fought before, Vegito explains while stammering, yeah, technically he is the same as Gogeta, but also he isn't really. He'll fill Broly in later. Right now, he's here to help him. He hands Broly a Senzu Bean, with Broly knowing exactly what it's used for. Super Broly eats the Senzu Bean, now fully healed. As Z Broly continues to look on in confusion, Vegito then assumes a fighting stance as Super Broly does the same. And together, the two face Z Broly. Z Broly is clearly outmatched here. There's no way he can counter the two now, no matter how quickly he grows. Once again, he's left to the last resort, blowing up the planet. And this time he knows he can't pull his blast at all. Even better, he can launch multiple at once. That way, they can't counter it. As Super Broly launches towards Z Broly laughs as he fires multiple blasts towards the planet. Back on the surface, Chi Lai Lemo and Paragus desperately try to shoot them down. But all the blasts suddenly explode midair. Vegito used his own Banshee Blast to launch multiple attacks at those blasts, defending the planet and those on the surface. All the while, Z Broly is preoccupied by Super Broly, and this leaves the perfect opening. Vegito then turns blue, knowing that now is the time to use his full power. He aims, charging a final Kamehameha in his hands. Both Brolys will be caught in the blast, but he has a plan. He launches the massive attack, and the two Brolys then see it. But as the attack is flying, Vegito then teleports to Super Broly, grabbing him with instant transmission and then teleporting him back to the surface where Paragus is. Z Broly tries to counter the beam. As Vegito resumes firing, he's facing some resistance, but Super Broly then joins in with a gigantic Omega Storm, combining into the final Kamehameha. A spectacle of flashing lights illuminates the planet, with Chi Lai Lemo and even Paragus shielding their eyes from the blast. Z Broly can't handle it, as he is then swallowed completely by the beam. A race as it careens off into space. Broly finally calms down, able to transform back into base, now having gained somewhat of a control over his anger and power. Vegito tells him good to go it, but of course there's a lot of questions for everyone. So Vegito explains who he is, why he's here, and why he looks different from Gogeta. Paragus of course doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're still wondering how that other Broly got here and how this Paragus got here. Vegito then remembers, during the battle as Gogeta, there was a brief period of time where they broke into another universe it seemed like. I mean, he's dealt with dimension breaking before once he fought Super Buu, but of course he doesn't really know the specifics about it. All he could do is theorize, maybe that's what caused this. He could even ask Bulma back at home. She probably has a better explanation than him. Everyone of course is just confused by this, but they just go with it. They don't really have any other explanation for it. Chi Lai and Lemo can't even believe what they're hearing. Not to mention, it's pretty weird to see this Vegito guy helping them, considering he almost killed Broly last time as Gogeta. But there is one last loose end, and that is Paragus. And naturally, Chi Lai and Lemo are very wary of him, with Broly being confused as to whether or not he accepts him as a father. It is Paragus, but not his Paragus, so he doesn't really know how to feel about it. They're able to learn more about him and they figure out this Paragus isn't as bad as the current version of Paragus, or at least the one that died not too long ago. As you could tell from DBS Broly and Movie 8, Z Paragus wasn't really a good guy, but he wasn't as bad of a father as Super Paragus is. Still, he's a bad guy, but as far as they could tell, this Paragus lived his life in fear of Broly rather than trying to control him and abuse him. He didn't want Broly to do this either. And, of course, he doesn't really have anywhere to go right now. He's not just homeless, he's universeless, I guess. Well, he seems terrible but not too terrible. They could always give him a chance. And for all they know, maybe he'll be a better father figure than Paragus was for Broly in this timeline. It's a long shot, but they should at least give him a chance to survive here since he has nowhere else to go, and they're not just gonna kill him either. So, awkwardly, they accept Paragus living on this planet with them. Vegito just scratches his forehead at the whole situation, although part of him is happy that he still hasn't defused yet. That's a good sign. Well, he awkwardly wishes everyone luck and then leaves going back to Earth. This whole thing was really weird. Once they defuse, they decide they need to talk to someone really smart about this, like Bulma, or maybe even Whis. This is far too complicated for their understanding. Vegito places his fingers on his forehead, saying goodbye as he teleports back to Earth, leaving the 4 Vampa residents in awkward silence. That was definitely an interesting day, and with that, we can end this scenario. Naturally, this scenario wasn't entirely realistic. It was more along the lines of fanfiction if anything, and many creative liberties were taken. However, I think it at least made for a fun ride, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys like these types of scenarios in the comments. And speaking of that, what did you guys think? What would you change? What do you think would happen with Paragus? Leave any thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video. If you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future videos that I upload on my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.